In this film, Jupiter, Donnie Darko, is being directed by Frank Saturn. So again, it comes down to Saturn having the authority to direct. He is being managed by Saturn, who is the chief architect. So essentially, though, they are working in conjunction, even though they ultimately do, oppose and collide prior to their ignition. But in a sense, they're both directing themselves to each other. And even in this kamikaze flight, so to speak, that they're going through and that they're performing, it is essentially something that it is part of the architect design. It is because they are the system designers and the builders that is exactly why they have the authority to be responsible for tearing down their own creation. And these cycles have repeated themselves for God knows how long. I don't know how long, but they are repeating cycles, just as on the microform, how there is death and rebirth, there is the death and rebirth of stars also. And so this is just the nature of reality. And as much as people want to just write this off as being just part of some kind of control grid, or even part of a religious control grid, no, there are truths revealed and released in all the religious systems. It's just a matter of navigating and discerning what is potentially part of the control structure and what is part of the keys that are there to prepare people spiritually and to give keys of truth, which are allowed and allotted even by the designers themselves. And I must say, I've had an abundance of synchronicity occur on my own journey. And the strange thing is I live quite a mundane, quiet life. And yet I've had so many supernatural, awe-inspiring experiences, just as signs that I feel there is a hand over me and a hand over this work that is very special. And I am very touched and honored, even in amongst all the resistance that is inevitable, that takes place when you're a truther and striving to share those gifts and those pearls, because I do see them as pearls. And I hope that people ideally would treat it that way. But it is there for those with the eyes to see it. And so irregardless of whether these truths are accepted or rejected, I'm glad to be sharing them and honored to be sharing them. After putting out a previous video release where I showed an evidence piece, I think it was the evidence of a Tears for Fears track, and it's the two doves that cross each other. So as soon as I stepped outside of just where I reside here, after uploading that video and that evidence, I literally had two birds cross over me, over my head, just meters apart. Just meters over my head. I don't know, for whatever reason, I'm, a carrier of this. And yeah, I know there are rewards in seeking. Okay, so I'm just going to play a key scene as well, where Saturn's master plan is referenced. And then I'm going to show another code following up from that, just to, again, correlate and affirm it.
If you have Noah's master plan.
Do you mean God's master plan? Do you now believe in God?
I have a power to build time sheet.
How is that possible?
Now, it's important to reference that there's a reason why this movie is available for free on YouTube and to be able to watch it in full, is that it releases many, many potent keys and codes as a window of opportunity. So that's why I cannot recommend that people watch this film enough if they're truthers, and watching it from the perspective of Donnie Darko being Jupiter, and Frank being Saturn, and Jim Cunningham being an archetype of Saturn also. So this really is a way that you assemble these keys and actually gather more information, because all of these evidence pieces that we've supplied and the ones in the folders as well all supply keys, and you'll be able to put and associate all the archetype codes and pin them all together, and eventually you get to a point in better easily identifying all these references, because as we're getting closer towards the end of the age, I find that they are releasing more and more potent and more obvious codes, because that's what they do towards the end of the age. They do release the information. As the Bible states, there is nothing hidden that will remain hidden towards the end of the age. That's been appointed and allotted. So you just referenced Saturn's master plan. Again, covered this one before as well. And Lloyd, girls around the world. So these two males are representing Saturn bodies, and the girls are representing the Pleiades ladies, the Pleiades girls. And they're often coded as strippers because they're related to the whore of Babylon, who is Alcyone. So let's have a listen to what the Saturn archetype is saying. Okay, so now this piece of evidence, again, with this same movie, Dude, Where's My Car? So where the twins task the dudes to take out the trash. And again, this is another reference to Jesse and Chester, Saturn and Jupiter being the harvesters and taking out the trash. Now, remember, as I've stated, Cain is Saturn, Abel is Jupiter. They both made offerings to God. It was Cain's offering that was rejected. Now, why was Cain's offering rejected at harvest, and Jupiter's offering as a harvester was not rejected? Because that's what that code is that they made soul offerings to a higher power as the harvesters. They distribute the souls. They're soul collectors. Spirit, soul, whichever way you want to frame it. They're the hunters and collectors. They're the gatherers at these harvest periods, because obviously when we speak about a harvest, we're speaking about a vast collection. These twins, we've covered the twin system of Alcyone, because she is the feminine creation aspect, playing a dual role, because she is both the whore and the virgin, as we have covered in evidence. So that's the twin aspect to Mary. Alcyone is both the Virgin Mary and she is Mary Magdalene also. So this is and that's why, and she converges, Alcyone converges with these star kings, Jupiter and Saturn. That's why they're represented as Jupiter and Saturn's partners here in this scene. And there is also another aspect of Alcyone represented in this film, and that's that the giant lady, and those are the ones playing the women in black represent the Pleiades ladies also. And we're going to see some more symbology. Now, first, okay, interesting. I just clicked on the Adidas boot. So let's talk about Adidas, Adidas, whichever way you pronounce it. There's 3 stripes on Adidas. Now, I've seen archetypes of Alcyone, Jupiter, and Saturn all wearing the added aspect. Because they're the Trinity bodies, that tells me, well, I can only deduce that these three stripes represent the Trinity of Alcyone, Saturn, and Jupiter. And I've shown the evidence pieces. They were even in the Sierra clip, last round of evidence, was wearing Adidas shoes. So that's representing the Trinity as I see it. And they're taking out the trash. They're both beasts of revelation. They're both bodies of the cross as well. They are the beasts that become beauty, so to speak, and in the ignition. It doesn't matter how much evidence you show to somebody. If they are adamant that it's not true, then they'll reject it. It doesn't really matter. I could show them evidence till the cows come home, pun intended. If they're not ready to accept the truth, then they will reject it. But it is what it is, and that's okay. You know, we're all on our journey of discovery. I know what I know, and I know what my eyes see that I can't deny. You know, I couldn't deny it if I wanted to, and I totally understand why people would want to reject this information, because it's disturbing. And this segment will be marked for adults only, because anything that does sort of highlight the reality that this harvest is going to occur, it is definitely for mature audiences, and I want to be sensitive to that. Okay, so White Horse, Jupiter, it is the male bodies of Jupiter, Saturn that are classed as the architects. Mother has the prime directive in all of this, and so yeah, this is. And what's been really cool as well is that I've had access to my DVD collection again, which I didn't have whilst I was living in Canada. So I've actually been able to watch a lot of these titles that I realized were coded. I've been able to actually review them in full and actually gather a lot more knowledge and information in relation to putting those codes together. And so, yeah, it's insane the amount of films that are coded. Okay, I've got some more evidence pieces. Sorry. Okay, so covered the harvesting evidence there. And you'll see here in this scene.
Dude, where's my car? Where's your car, dude?
So that car, like I stated before, represents Earth. The car represents Perth, and it's actually assigned to Saturn because it's referring to Jesse's car. And I don't know, I thought it was Jupiter's, but I was wrong. It's like the Earth is, because yeah, I in knowing now that Saturn is the chief architect, the chief designer of this place, this cube. Yeah, I guess it makes sense. You know, that this holographic simulation within his holographic projection in what we'd call the third density. And yeah, so.
Here's your car. Oh. Dude, where's my dude?
And we all live in the yellow submarine, going through all this evidence. So to me, it makes perfect sense the way all these pieces slot together perfectly. To me, they slot together perfectly. And so it makes total sense to me. But again, it's in the eye of the beholder. And so, yeah, I leave it to you and with you to discern at will. And I'll always emphasize that ultimately, do not take my word for anything. And even for the sake of karma, I will say, you know, because I have made some mistakes, and I must say that decoding is not for the faint-hearted, and especially if you're going to try and teach decoding symbology, because there is a huge amount of margin for error. I find it very daunting. And, you know, but because I'm teaching, I feel a lot of responsibility in that. And that's why I do want to provide several evidence pieces to affirm particular claims and statements, because, well, for starters, it's some of the most vital information there is out there. It's like I say, it's what we're in amongst. It's the nature of what we're existing in, and that's it's a big deal. Well, for me, it's a big deal, and for me, the truth is a big deal. And I know it's not a big deal for everyone. Some people just want to live their life and just be in the world, you know, or sorry, be of the world and not in the world. So yeah, I've ardently seeked since a teenager. Like I had that inner drive, and I feel that those who have an inner drive for truth and an inner love and desire and sincerity to seek truth, even though I don't like the blessed, because the word blessed, because I think that's a coded word, but I'd say you are anointed already if you have a genuine desire for the truth. And so those of you who are people who are positive, who are following this work and looking with a positive lens and a positive frame, I'll say you are anointed. You truly are. So yeah, I can only recommend that people follow all the evidence pieces that have been covered in the works of Decoding, because I don't think I'm leading anyone astray. I really don't. But I have been doing this for a long time now. It has been tiring, all the seeking, all the researching, in hunger, you know. No pun intended there. But we should all be hungry for the truth. Yeah. And actually, I want to mention something that I had in mind as well, is that the harvesting of the forbidden fruit, the original sin, was actually the eating of meat, was the devouring of flesh. Okay, so that should say something about the path of vegetarianism, and that to go towards a vegetarian path is a path of evolution. And I know this is definitely a controversial topic. So just to cap off, that the original sin of Adam and Eve was the harvesting of beings on earth, the beings of earth that included human souls. Yes, there already were human souls on the earth at the time of the harvesting. And this is why I say Adam and Eve do not represent human beings that were formed from the dust, because they were stars. Adam, Saturn, Eve, Alcyone. And I've covered those codes and that work in previous videos. And I hope you find them, because it's the truth. So, and the tree in the middle of the garden is earth, and the fruit on that tree were the beings within it that were harvested. And that was a transgression. And that did represent a fall in consciousness, a fall that still exists to this day. Though that state of being won't remain. There will be new heavens and new earth created at the end of the cycle, where the allegorical lion will lay down with the lamb after these convergences. There is going to be a mass transformation, mass ignitions, supernovas. I don't know when, but that is that's the state of what's coming. And it is going to be a bumpy ride in what's going to culminate up to that point.
Infini-Verses.